Good afternoon, everyone. Really excited to be here today and to talk to you about the Industrial Revolution. So any second now, my slides are going to appear on the screen and we'll start. So I'm an inventor, I'm a designer, and I'm the founder and CEO of Pavegen. I've devoted my entire career to cities and making them more sustainable. So I was asked to look at, what does this fourth industrial revolution mean to us? And what are the implications of this? And so the relationships that, I'm going to go through today start on, man versus machine, the dangers, and we've heard a lot about that so far. Secondly, man, having a machine, but not necessarily working closely with it. And then how to have man working really closely, loving the machine. And I've got some examples of that. So hopefully the slides will come up really soon, and we begin. So I'm feeling that any second now, it's going to fly up behind the mountains. We're going to see the slides. Here we are. We made it. Thanks, guys. So it's about the different versions of man versus machine. And the thing to start with is there's a lot of trouble that's been caused recently by machines. The last speaker talked about what machines could do, but in the UK recently our health service was crippled. Hospitals all over the United Kingdom couldn't do anything because their software had been hacked. Drones are causing trouble all across the world. I think really soon we're going to see some significant aviation disasters happening because of what's going on with drones. And even recently, mobile devices. So with Samsung, the recent Galaxy Note 7 has been exploding in people's pockets. This is an example of machines could be extremely dangerous and have been almost killing people through the danger of them. And we're going into uncharted territory with startups being built every minute in countries all around the world. They're all bringing out new ideas. And I wondered, is this industrial revolution a unique thing that's going on? Or has it been going on for hundreds and thousands of years? So I went back in time and I looked at some examples of where man had used machine, of where it had worked and where it hadn't. So the first really exciting example of man using machine was the Asian pastoralists. So these guys in 1500 BC invented a bow. Now, what was really clever about this bow is it was a composite bow. It was made from slivers of animal bone, glued together with a very special glue that was extracted from a fish. Now, these layers of bone and glue allowed the bow to fire twice as far, but yet be half the length, so a lot easier to move. So this machine allowed this group to take over huge areas of the world through their superior military power through this machine that they developed. Now, man hasn't always worked with machine, historically, in the best way. So in the United Kingdom, in the 1960s, man had an idea to take a television and to make the television make smells. So you could smell the TV. So the idea is you're watching a field of flowers, and sitting in your sitting room at home, you can smell the TV. Now, it didn't really catch on. And I don't know about you, but if you were to film me yesterday after my 11-hour flight from London, I wouldn't smell so good myself. So this machine didn't catch on. Now, the most beautiful machines, I believe, are the most simple. So Thomas Edison came up with the concept of using a carbon filament and running electricity through it. Now, this filament became the light bulb. So in 1879, the most simple, beautiful invention allowed man to learn at night, to operate machinery when there's no sunlight, and ultimately start to really change the industrial age as we know it through the beautiful machine of a light bulb. Now, Stephenson's rocket in 1829. Now, Stephenson came up with the idea for a train. So the first ever train, it was running on steam. Now, the top speed of this train was 28 miles an hour. Now, this was the fastest a human had ever traveled, 28 miles an hour. And people believed, when they sat in the train and they were driving along, that this train would be going so fast they couldn't breathe. They'd be starved of oxygen, and they'd die. They also believed, at the speed of 28 miles an hour, rocketing across the park, that people's bones would disintegrate, that the human body couldn't withstand this excessive force of merely 28 miles an hour. And then it caught on. We've had nearly 200 years of industrial train usage that has changed cities and countries all around the world. And now we're even looking at getting inside a pod and being fired across the desert at 900 miles an hour. And this is seen as a really simple thing, that we just travel in a hyperloop and it's going to be the easiest thing to do and be really safe. But surely people would be afraid. We've come used to technology and it's easier for us to take the risk with it. And I think it's really interesting how it's evolved over time. Now, the next melting pot that I see for technology and man is our cities. Now, cities are growing faster than ever before. The next billion people on this planet will be living in our cities. Now, although Seoul isn't growing as fast as some other global cities, it's twice the density of New York. It's 4 times the density of Los Angeles. And this creates a unique challenge of how can humans live alongside the machines that can make the city work for us, the air conditioning, the transport hubs, and everything in that city. So I started 7 years ago really thinking hard about our cities. My journey is that I was asked by the largest energy company in Europe. They said to me, Laurence, we want you to come and build us the future of energy in our cities. So it was my first ever job. I was 21 years old, and off I went to this energy company to help them address the issue of energy. And we were looking at how do we make lighting work in cities in a really sustainable way that allows these cities to grow? How do we build these machines that can work with people? So we looked at putting solar panels on streetlights. We looked at putting wind turbines on streetlights too. And after a year at this energy company, I failed. I couldn't make it work. The machine I was trying to build for the city wasn't possible to work. So they said to me, Laurence, you're fired. So hanging my head in shame, I left that business. I couldn't make it work. I was crying, I was really upset, and I left. But I kept thinking about the problem of energy in cities. I thought, what if we could find this energy source? So I carried on thinking about the problem at university, and then I carried on with this idea in my bedroom. So here's me in my bedroom playing with the idea, trying to make it work. Now, I happened to have a camera crew there at the time, so don't ask why. But I was looking at how can we generate energy in our cities using footsteps. Every step people make, what if you could generate electrical power from every footstep? And the idea is, what if we could use it in every train station, in every office, in every public space? You go into sports stadiums, you go into all sorts of areas with high footfall. What if you could generate electricity from that every person's movement? So I built a prototype. After 3 long years of trying to make this machine, I had a prototype. And the key thing to understanding whether my machine that would generate energy, whether it would work, was actually testing it on people. So I went to a school, and I tested it in a school, and this is what happened when people walked on my floor. So we'd made energy fun. Some called it the gamification of energy. So I realized the machine that I set out to create was something that humans could play with. Then the challenge is how do you make this work? I built a machine that would test it to 1 million footsteps. Then I had to build a system to simulate thousands of people walking in our cities. There are my old shoes. I haven't seen them for a while. And then we had to make sure it would work underwater. In the city is one of the harshest environments known to man. It rains on you, people vandalized you. So we had to engineer a product that would withstand water at a meter depth and be really robust and withstand it. And then to produce industrial machinery and technology that would really test it until the point of destruction. So we built the prototype and we had to understand what can it do for cities. So my mission is to transform the way people look at energy in cities, to empower people for a better world through the power of a footstep. Now when you walk, you can get energy but also data from those footsteps. And we've been looking at ways to make that work. Now, working with people, I called this the Internet of Beings. Now, I'm not sure what the Korean translation is for that, but the Internet of Beings. It's about the humans, it's about the people, it's about the physical act of walking, but it's also about the digital, connecting, understanding what people are doing. How many people are walking down that street at night, in the day? When are the different flows of people walking? So my vision is to be the Intel inside future cities, to be that ingredient brand that can sit in every single sidewalk, in every single building, producing energy from the very people within that city. So it's a simple concept. As you walk, it can generate power. But we had to set out to actually build a really robust version of this technology. So I've got a short video that describes it here. So you can see behind me, the technology works with a flywheel. When you walk on the tile, it spins, and it keeps rotating. So we've recently brought out a version that's 200 times more powerful. We've also got some of the most advanced manufacturing technology based in the UK, where we're developing and testing different iterations of this product to make sure it'll work. Now, we put that together, and this is an example of the final product that we've created. I'm going to show you a short video of what 7 years of hard work came out in. So the concept was really interesting. We've proven it worked. And now we're in the 4th industrial revolution, which means the way that things are communicated are different. So suddenly, this technology went viral. We had the chance to test it all around the world. So you can see behind me, we have examples of people using it from music festivals to train stations, covering marathons, all sorts of different environments, from retail.
We're talking about the Paris Marathon. There's a company called Pavegen.
I mean, what a concept. It makes perfect sense.
So it's really used in a way that could change how people behave in cities through this simple tile. It went to 200 countries around the world, and then even we won some of the biggest technology awards that are out there. And then from this, we wanted to make a smart street. Here you see a dumb street, just a boring concrete road. We're going to make every street smart, giving energy and data. Now, these future cities that I've been thinking about a huge amount, what I realized we start to address is within the battleground of these cities, we start to address these major issues. Renewable energy and climate change is one of them. Wellness. We encourage people to walk. Wherever you move, you walk, you generate power. That's a really strong part of a future city, and it needs to be part of the very fabric of our future cities as well. Every tile produces data. So we start to learn how people are moving in that urban environment, which helps us with big data to really understand it. And then there's going to be more connected devices than there are people in the next few years. And our tiles are all connected, can control lighting, and really be that very fabric of that city. And the other part is sustainability. So look, they produce energy. It's a renewable solution, but people are the solution. And I believe that when you take the idea of sustainability from something you see to something you feel here, that's when you can make massive change in society. So we wanted to address some of these big issues in cities head on. And I've got a series of stories to tell you now about how we approach this in a city environment. So did you know that 30% of global energy is used for lighting? A huge amount of power in the world, thanks to our friend Thomas Edison. Now, I wanted to go and find a scenario where we could really test if we can change a city environment. So we went to a favela, the Morro da Mineira favela in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. This is a favela that has had no help before. There's no government support. It's an incredibly dangerous place to be. The top layer of the favela is controlled by the warlords. The middle layer of the favela is ruled by the drug lords. So it's an incredibly tough environment to work in. Now, what you'll see in the middle here, you'll see a soccer pitch. So we thought, can we take our technology, lay it in a soccer pitch, and use the energy of people running and playing sport to generate enough power to power the floodlights? So I went to Brazil. I had some of my technology with me. We worked really, really closely with the community to help them to understand what this machine could do. And I've got a story here from my friend Helena, who you'll see over there. The story shows how it affected her and her community, this floor. So I'm going to play the video now. Maybe the lights could be dimmed slightly so we can see it.
Eu achei muito legal quando o campo ficar pronto e eu achei muito legal que essa obra que eles estão fazendo aqui, que escolheram essa comunidade. Um dia eu quero andar por cima para ver como que é.
This new form of kinetic technology is a flooring tile. As you stand on it, it converts every footstep to electricity. Just the movement, like that. Yeah, that's it.
Quando a gente corre e brinca, a gente ajuda a iluminar. Eu acho muito legal. Eles criam, cria uma coisa tão legal. E ela faz a gente aprender muitas coisas legais. A gente aprendeu que a energia vem do planeta, do sol, do vento e da gente.
So we showed that this machine being taken into the favela, this floor, would not only produce power, but it would also inspire the next generation of engineers. She now wants to think about science. And also, businesses popped up all around the soccer pitch. So suddenly, it helped economically the society as well. So I started to learn this machine had other uses. Then we took it with Akon, the hip-hop megastar, to another soccer pitch in Nigeria. And the interesting thing about this story is we actually made a music video around it. And I know you guys may not believe it, but I actually made it into Akon's hip-hop video. But they wouldn't let me dance. I had to draw in the background. The fourth industrial revolution is changing all the time in terms of how companies have been developed, how new concepts are scaling. Teams from around the world can simultaneously develop algorithms in hours rather than years. But also the communication of those ideas is done in a very different way. So we had this machine. We have this patented machine. And I thought, how can we talk about this machine on a global scale? So we thought, let's put it in a music video with some of the biggest pop stars in the world. So we used a video we had Jennifer Hudson here, the American star. We had Steve Aoki, Pixie Lott from the UK, Luan Santander, and a number of other various artists. Now, we created this music video, and it sounded great. And then the next part of the music video, if you look closely here, look what we put in the music video. So you can see the music video, and you can see the Pavegen tiles in action. It shows how people walking over the tiles will produce energy, and how on a much bigger scale we can actually generate really tangible amounts of power to power the city. Now, I just showed you a music video. Did you know that music video was the most viewed video on YouTube in 2016? We received over 500 million views of that video, which allowed us to really grow and show how disruptive new ways of communicating can really change the way we look at technology. So I'll just jump on here to give an example of how this industrial revolution is disrupting one of the biggest nations in the world. So we have the White House. We have Donald Trump in there, who does not agree with climate change. Okay? The day of Trump's inauguration, we managed to install our largest global array of Pavegen tiles outside the White House. So if you look closely, you can see a very upset Donald Trump looking through the window of the White House. So what we did is we separated up 3 busy areas, and we covered our floor on these areas. Now, it was just around the corner from the White House where we had 10,000 people a day walking. So we use the energy of people walking, we store it in batteries. So as people walk, the energy is accumulated in batteries. Now, we heard earlier from JB Straubel, so they're behind the Tesla Powerwall and ultimately the Gigafactory. Now, what Tesla's doing makes my technology more viable. It's making it cheaper. It's making battery technology more accessible. So I put the equivalent of a small Powerwall into this system, and now, as people walk in a day, it generates power. And then we're also getting data on footfall. So we did a big launch with the US government. Donald Trump refused to come and launch with me. I keep writing him letters, but he's just not responding. And off the back of that, it really fits in seamlessly to this urban environment. And it's all about, can this machine fit? Do people want to walk on this machine? And we proved it really did work. And you can see here, all the area around where the tiles are installed on the ground is now illuminated from the people walking. So next, we took it to Harrods, one of the most premium retail stores in the world. Heathrow Airport in London, where we get in excess of 15,000 people a day walking over it. And every time people walk over it and down the corridor, they use the energy to light the corridor itself. Now, we learn a lot of interesting things around data. Now, as people walk over a tile, we're getting blips of data come up on our system. And some bits of data are less useful than others. So, for example, I know how fast people are running based on how late they are for their flights. So I'm not sure how useful that's going to be, but we get very interesting graphs just when the plane's about to leave. And recently, we've just taken it to Oxford Street in London, where 200,000 people a week walk up and down the street. And we're using the energy of people moving there. And what's happened today, this is the perfect timing and why I'm so excited to be here. In Seoul Forest, today, right now, we've just installed our first major Korean project. So it came from this idea you saw in my bedroom through to, we're already getting our first significant project in the ground. So I encourage you to go and see it. I haven't seen it yet, so hopefully we'll go and see it tomorrow. Now, when you walk on a tile, it feels really good when you walk on it. So I'm going to do a quick demo just to show you how it works. And maybe on the camera, it might be worth getting it up on the screen, if that's possible, and maybe one of these cameras. So this is the floor. I have a light on it. Now you can see here, and if I don't know if we can get that shot up on the screen. We'll see if it comes up. So when I stand on it, it powers the light. So here we go. We're panning up the light. Here we go. Here's the light. So when I stand on it, and the light's coming down, ready? So just 2 footsteps from me, and the light comes on. Can you see that there? And the more you walk on the tile, the more energy can be produced. So that was 2 steps by me, and the light is still on. So it's gone off now. So 1 step, we'll light it for a small amount of time, and then if I make many more steps like this, so we'll go back and forth on it, the system will come on for a lot longer. So I'll leave this now, and we can see when it goes off. If you can see that just here. So there's the light. So that's an example of how our technology is working. So we knew that's really interesting, the potential of what a low-energy power source can do. But the next thing I thought about is, what if we could connect the technology to mobile phones? The light's still on. That's quite cool. Can someone shout when it goes off? I might miss it. So we thought, what if you could generate energy and track people on their phones? So, for example, we'll pop the deck up on here. Here we go. As I walk across on my phone, it knows it's me. It knows it's Laurence. And I get points for my footsteps. So I walk into a shop. I walk into the Lotte Hotel. And it says, Laurence, you have generated 14 steps. Okay, I'm like, 14 steps, okay. And I can, with a digital currency we've created, we give you a reward for your footsteps. So what that means is, when you walk on the tile, you can download your favorite K-pop tune. You can donate your footsteps to charity. And you can really start to make social impact. Now, all you've got to do is walk. It's simple. But we found a way to engage those millennials, those people aged 16 to 35, who spend a lot of time on their phones. But we reward those people. And all you need to do is walk, and these points can be accumulated. And I also believe you can take this 1 step further. Now, in the city of the future, machines will make our lives so much better. One of the ways that it will happen is I will take my cell phone, I will scan the horizon of a city, and I will see all the buildings come up, and I will be able to know how happy the people are in that building. So Pavegen will be part of a way to understand the happiness barometer of people. Now, this is really important because I spend 6 months of my life in hotels around the world. Now, when I see a hotel on the internet and it looks good, I go into the hotel room and I look at the air vent and I see dust on that air vent, and I know the air that I'm breathing in my lungs isn't good. There's no way of knowing that. But through using the Pavegen technology, we can tell through that and other technologies built into a smartphone how happy people are. So actually, it can be a really great way for cities to work together with technology to make the experience better for people. One of the ways that we wanted to really improve a community and make people happier was recently in Johannesburg. So this is a shopping mall in Joburg. It's a really wealthy shopping mall called the Sandton Mall. So what happens is people walk up and down the mall every day. And we did this with Samsung. So it's a project with Samsung. So as people walk up and down the mall, in the very, very wealthy mall, we accumulated their footsteps digitally. And we said, if we get 2 million steps over the course of a few weeks, we will donate those footsteps to a group in need. So we took those footsteps after 2 weeks, and we went to a community called Diepsela. Now, it was a really challenging community, very, very poor. And we gave them a classroom using the energy that was made from people in the mall. So we transferred that energy. We donated that energy from those people walking through to a community who really need it. And now it's working every day. It has the ability to people to really learn, to have light, to have power, and really increase that learning there. So an example of how if you use machines correctly in the city, it can really increase the way people see the kind of the benefits of being there. Now, the next example I made specially because I heard J.B. Straubel from Tesla was here. So Elon Musk lent me a Tesla, and we had some fun with it. So this is a demo of what happened. So we connected our tiles into the Tesla, and we wanted to see if we could charge the Tesla from the energy of people walking. So we laid a number of tiles on the ground. We had around 1,000 people walking over the tiles. And we wanted to see, is there enough energy there that could actually charge the car? Imagine every future city, if we use the energy of people to power those electric vehicle charging stations, how it could really transform it. So we showed that the energy of people walking, 1,000 steps, will make the car drive around 400 meters. Now that may seem like a small amount, but imagine 1 million people every week in a busy part of a city and using that energy to make the vehicle charge. So there's a huge amount more that can be done. Now, that got me thinking about cars. So I've talked today about walking and the power of a footstep. But what if you can use the energy of a vehicle to generate power? There's a lot more energy available when cars drive. You have two wheels, so the front and the back, which means there's more power there. And ultimately, you could take huge parts of a city off-grid, and they are powering safety traffic lights, powering crossroads, and powering streetlights. So that's something we're really fascinated about, is how to engineer that product next for us. So, look, the fourth industrial revolution is man and machine working together harmoniously. Man must love machine, and machine must love man. It must be done with the right governance, with the right guidelines to protect that machine as it's being developed to work in the right way with humans. We've got to protect it. Governments and the biggest technology companies in the world need to form an alliance to work together to prevent it being used in the wrong way. Of course, it's not going to be perfect, but it needs to be addressed now to make everyone work together and to love each other. Because I believe that future cities are about great mobility, great transportation, but ultimately people have got to be really happy. There's got to be green energy. There's got to be seamless access to education. But people have got to be happy, and that is the most important thing that we're looking at. So we need to make a step towards our future. Now, in researching for this talk, I came across a statistic that said 65% of primary school children will be doing jobs that don't even exist yet. And that really intrigued me, thinking all of the accountants, engineers, and scientists, these traditional roles, and probably more into retail and so forth, they won't exist. So we need to be ready for this fourth industrial revolution to hit us, and it's going to hit us really, really quickly. And society needs to be ready to evolve, to be nimble, and to make sure that the next wave of entrepreneurs, of ideas, ideators, innovators, can be there to solve these problems and develop solutions around it. So I encourage everyone, in light of this industrial revolution that's upon us, to actually believe that you can make change. You don't need to just work for a big company. You can be the change if you believe in something enough. And there's never been more opportunities than there are today to start something new. And I hope my example of talking about taking a technology from my bedroom to Seoul Forest Park has been one that can really show you that it is possible. So it starts with a footstep, and it's down to you. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you.